what's up you guys? This is Century Productions and welcome to the Watchtower series. If you're new here, the Watchtower series is just basically a deep dive of my toy photography. I show you how I arrange my setups, how I light everything, how I pose my figures, all that good stuff. So I got the new Walmart exclusive Marvel Legends Bucky Captain America right here on the table, shooting like a little Steve Rogers tribute kind of shot in a graveyard. Whatever you really want to call it. This isn't really pulled from anything specifically. This is just kind of my own idea. I was kind of playing around with hand swapping with this new Bucky cap, and I came across the salute gesture for the right hand, and I figured it might work pretty well for Bucky. You know, he was in World War II. He was in the army, I believe, with Steve. So I felt like this was kind of fitting for that kind of scene. Been playing around with this Marvel Legends Bucky cap. When the first Bucky cap came out, what was it, in like 2012, I believe, for the return of Marvel Legends. It was on that brand new body. I remember being so stoked for that figure, thinking it was like the coolest figure that had ever been released up until that point. And then, of course, over the 10 years that we've been seeing that buck over and over and over again, it's grown a little stale, a little outdated. So it's nice that we got this Bucky cap on the new Vulcan body with the butterfly joints. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is one of the first Captain America figures with butterfly joints, which I think are absolutely essential for most action kind of themed characters like Captain America, Bucky Barnes. So really excited when I got this figure in. Got a couple of them just so I could throw on my main display, one so I can kind of play around with. There's a couple things that kind of bother me about the figure, just like this belt portion, the way they arranged it, where it's like sitting in between the waist and the crotch. I think it's just kind of strange. But other than that, I have to say, I definitely sign off on this as an awesome updated version of Bucky, and I think it's a really good version. I really do enjoy this figure, other than that one main gripe. Got the new metallic kind of shining shield right here, and he comes with a couple accessories, couple extra hands. The paint's flawless on it, articulation's fantastic. Overall, this is a really solid figure and really awesome updated version of Bucky. So yeah, that's kind of the idea of what's going on with this setup. Got the grass, got a couple of real tombstones in here. This is from a NECA Jason figure. I think this is, let's see whose tombstone this actually is. Pamela Voorhees, that's his mom, right? I don't really know all that much about Jason, but so I've sold most of my NECA horror figures, but I did keep some of the accessories, so this is one of the accessories I kept. All these other tombstones in the background, these are cutouts. These are not real. They're all cutouts. That's the kind of the beauty of having all these in the background and being out of focus. In fact, the Bucky cap is really the only thing that's going to be in focus for the shot. All of the tombstones, including the one in the foreground right here, are all going to be out of focus, but that's kind of the beauty of these cutouts in the back. I made these like 2 years ago, and I've just kind of held on to them. I hold on to most of my cutouts, especially the ones I can kind of reuse, and I felt like, hey, this shot can kind of fit those cutouts pretty well. I kind of just snuck them there in the back, and boom, they work really great, and you can kind of tell they're all different. This is also a cutout, and that one's also a cutout. They're all kind of different shapes. I really like this cross one, kind of just snuck that right in the middle of the shot. It's almost like the centerpiece of the shot, even though it's in the background. I just think it's really cool. So this really, this shot really came together, man. Alright, so through the viewfinder, this is how this shot is looking. Very low settings. We got, low shutter speed, low aperture, low ISO, just low everything. Just make sure you got the lights that are, bright enough to kind of work well with those settings. And then there's not really much more to touch on as far as this shot. I did kind of want to, give you guys an idea of the belt of what I was talking about. If you guys want like more in-depth of my thoughts on how I felt about that belt, Shardimus actually did a review of this figure, and he did a pretty good job of explaining how I felt about how that belt is arranged on this figure. So I'd check out his review. It's fairly recent, but let's check out this shot. Let's just start with the lights real quick. I got my LED Ulanzi right here that's shining on the gravestone. If you look at the gravestone, that's in focus right now. If I turn that light off, it just kind of looks weird without that light on it. So You know, sometimes if I have like other little props in the shot, I'll make sure I light those up as well. This is just to provide some light on the Bucky. That's what this is also doing. This is providing light on the shield. I have this little LED desk light strip lamp, whatever you want to call it. That's kind of providing light for the whole setup. I have my E-Mart lights right here, providing light for the background, as well as that little light strip right there. With the angle I have this camera at, you actually can't even see that light strip hidden back there because my angle is low enough. So it kind of works out pretty good, and it gives this like nice little underglow or back glow for the background. Pretty cool. Garage kit, doing a little bit of backlighting. If you follow my videos or follow my shots, you know I love that backlighting. And I think that is pretty much the whole shot. Overall, I would definitely recommend getting this Bucky cap if you can find them at Walmart, but let's check out this shot, man. Alright, so still on the table with this Bucky figure. Just having fun at this point. Went through my little cutout library and I found this blam 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 blam. Obviously a sound effect for a gun. I thought it looked really cool with the red. And I just loved how it was lined up like that. I pulled this from a comic, I don't even know how long ago. Of course, this version of Captain America has a gun. He doesn't really use the gun all that often in the books. You know, Bucky's character, he's been using a gun since his inception, so naturally it just made sense for him to have a gun with his uniform. Typically though, he'll just beat people's asses with the shield. But there is, like, in the first few issues, he does pull out the gun quite a bit, but I don't ever think he murders anybody with the gun. Correct me if I'm wrong, of course. This gun is a G.I. Joe gun. I got a G.I. Joe effect ported into it. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but it's like a multiple gunshot effect, kind of similar to the one that came with the War Machine Marvel Legends figure. If you guys remember that one for his forearm, kind of did like this spraying kind of motion. So I thought it looked pretty cool. Obviously this part's going to be out of focus. The cutout's going to be out of focus, just because the cutout does have a couple discrepancies on it, so it just makes a little bit more sense for it to be slightly out of focus, just so you don't see any of those discrepancies. And the gunfire, of course, is or the muzzle flash is going to be out of focus as well. Working with a higher shutter than I normally am. I think my aperture's at 4.5 for this. So the background, the foreground's all going to be blurred, shot very low to kind of get this rubble and everything in frame. But this rubble kind of ends right here at the Captain America. So since I'm shooting so low, I don't really have to worry about continuing the rubble past that point. Plus we want to make space for our cutout here, our posing the figure, of course. Kind of threw a little cinder block in here, you know, just kind of various items to throw in the foreground that are all going to be blurred out. These little pieces of like a demolished building. I think I got this in like an action figure accessory lot maybe like 2-3 years ago. I don't really use it all that often, but it's actually a pretty cool little piece. It's made of it's like ceramic, so it's very interesting to you know, pick that up, and it's like, oh wow, it's got a good weight to it. Anyways, just like little rocks, nothing crazy here. Just you know, simulating rubble. I always kind of, you know, when I think of Captain America, I think of, like, you know, the war version of Captain America, rubble, broken buildings, stuff like that. So got these little brick backgrounds back there, you know, just to simulate like a kind of war-torn environment. You know, a lot of the times I have the idea for the actual shot. I'm just kind of throwing around ideas for the background, the foreground, stuff like that, like the scene itself. So I'll spend probably the same amount of time thinking about that stuff as I do about the actual story of the shot. So basically just Captain America using his gun. He looks badass. I love this figure. I think it's so cool that it's kind of like it reminds me of Thomas Wayne Batman, you know, when he's using guns in that alternate version of Gotham. I don't know, this Bucky kind of reminds me of that, especially when he's using his gun. Alright, so you can kind of see what I'm looking at through the viewfinder here. This is the setup. This is kind of like the rubble situation. Like I said, it kind of ends right before you see the Captain America. Of course, we have this little IKEA book light that's shining right on that muzzle flash. And with the lower settings that I'm using and the higher shutter speed, I think this muzzle flash comes out very bright in the shot. Let's see if I can show you that. I don't know how well that's showing you, but once you see the final photo, I think it's it's more bright than I would typically have it if I didn't have a light right up on it. Of course, my framing eliminates that light being in frame. We got our cutout. We got the pieces I was just talking about, the little rubble pieces. A lot of lights. You can see the brick background. I did want to show you guys what it looks like behind the cutout. That's a little, I think that's Laserbeak from the Masterpiece Soundwave. He's just thin enough to kind of hold this cutout right in place. You can see I have a couple pieces of tack on there just to kind of hide that stand right there. So yeah, I have a couple lights pointing at the brick background, then I have a couple lights pointing back at the figure. So you can see, of course, this Ulanzi right here pointing at the shield, that Ulanzi right there to give him a little bit of side lighting. Since our background is so dark, we do kind of want those side lights and the back lights to kind of distinguish, especially his black pants, from the background. Of course, we got the black felt, which if you didn't know, the felt's awesome for nighttime. It doesn't absorb any of the lights from your setup, so it'll really come out pitch black if you up your contrast a little bit. Working with this bigger Viltrox panel LED, this one really gives a lot of light. So when I'm working with the higher shutter speed, it really helps out. Of course, we've got this front light right there. And then you can see kind of my Jimmy rigged book light hooked up to an external battery pack right here. Just kind of works out. And then of course I have this light up here, it's kind of lighting the whole scene. So a lot of lights, even though this is kind of like a darker nighttime shot, kind of works out. So having a lot of fun with this Bucky. I don't know if I'm going to shoot anything else with him right at this moment. I've kind of had a flurry of ideas for shots, so I'm kind of just going through them one by one, but I had a couple of really fun shots with this Bucky, so I think I'm going to end it on a high note until I pull him out again and take another shot. But I hope you guys enjoyed these two shots that I took with this Bucky. Definitely get out there and get this figure. Even though it does have that one minor gripe with the belt, overall I think this is an awesome updated version of Bucky. Definitely worth going on your shelf. And yeah, make sure to check out my Instagram, more behind the scenes over there. And until next time, this is Century Productions. Thanks for watching. Make sure to leave a comment, any feedback, anything you want to let me know down below. Appreciate you guys. Now let's check out this shot.